Hey kids, it's the Missenden Flyer here. It's coming up to 11 AM British summertime on Saturday the 6th of August. And that means it must be time for the 2016 Sync the Planet. Okay, so for those of you who've never heard of Sync the Planet before, what the heck am I talking about? Well, what it is, it's a thing that's been running for a few years now, 3 or 4 years. I've done it for the last couple of years. But on a certain time and date every year, motorcycle vloggers go out and they do a vlog at the same time wherever they are on the planet. Now that time is 12 o'clock midday Paris time. So the good news for me being here in England is that that's just an hour different to British time in the summer, or any other time. That means 11 AM for me. So it's 11 o'clock, middle of the summer. It's a nice day. It's been a rubbish summer this year in England, so I'm glad that the sun is shining today. Normally on the Sync the Planet, what we do is there's a subject nominated to discuss, but this year slightly different. It's been left open. You can talk about whatever you want. So what I've decided to talk about is something that I guess is relevant for everybody that rides a bike, and that is what makes motorcycling fun. What makes you want to go out and ride a motorbike? What about it is good? So stick around, stay tuned, and I'll give you my reasons, my opinion at least, on what makes motorcycling fun and why you should do it. Okay, so before we get into my reasons why I ride motorbikes, I just want to prove to you that what the time is. I hope you can see in my instruments there. It's just before 11 o'clock, 10:58 at the moment. By the time I finish recording this, though, it will be 11, and I will be in sync with the rest of the planet. They are 10:59 now. Hope you can read that. All right, so there we go. So to my chosen subject then. Why do I ride bikes? What makes them fun? Well, for me, there's loads of reasons why I like to ride motorbikes, and I'm sure some of mine are the same as yours, and maybe you've got some different ones too. I'll be interested to hear your reasons. But a number of things. First of all, I guess I just like motorcycles. In fact, I like engineering and things with engines in general. I guess I'm a bit of a petrol head. I like aeroplanes, cars, bikes, you name it, planes, trains, everything. So yeah, I just appreciate the engineering in them. I think they're beautiful beasts. Anything with an engine, as I say, I like. Just the magic of something moving of its own accord has always amused me since I was a child. I think that's the root of my liking for all things engineering, and also I appreciate the craftsmanship in things. Bikes in particular I like because I think in many cases you can actually see the engine. So that's number one. I actually like the machines themselves. I mean, bikes like this Panigale are absolutely beautiful, and it's a thing of beauty. Just having it in my garage is enough for me. I don't even have to go and ride it, even though I love riding it. It's a beautiful bike to ride. Just owning the thing is fantastic, and it's a beautiful bit of kit to have. So number one for me is motorcycles themselves. I just think are awesome gadgets. Gotta love the old stop go boards. That's when you realise you've got a really good job. And you see some poor fellow that has to do that all day. Anyway, at least the sun's out. Actually, one thing I like about motorcycles is the fact that you can go places on them and not get stuck in traffic. You can filter, you can get through stuff. So, an example of a bit of traffic here in Prince's Risborough is a case in point. On a bike, you don't need to get stuck by heavy traffic. You can just weave your way through. But anyway, that's by the by. I suppose another thing for me that makes biking great, and it's something that a lot of people often seem to mention, is the sort of sense of freedom that you get when you're on a bike. Just the fact that it's a visceral experience. You know, you're on the machine, it's kind of part of you. You can feel the wind in your hair, if you're lucky enough to have any hair, that is, and indeed if you happen to ride without a crash helmet, so that's a load of rubbish. But anyway, you get what I mean. You're in the environment, you can smell the smells as you go around, you can feel the wind. If it rains, you get wet. It's just a much more involving mode of transport than, say, driving in a Mini, nice though they are. So I love that sense of you being in command of the machine. You can go where you want, do what you want, at seemingly what speed you want, because let's face it, all motorbikes are fast if you want them to be. So there is definitely a sense of freedom. The fact that generally speaking it's just you on the bike. I know sometimes people take pillions, I don't tend to very often. But just the fact it's you and the bike out there doing what you want, it's just great fun. So there is definitely a sense of freedom, and I very much enjoy that on the motorbike. Another thing that makes biking fun for me is actually the skill required in riding a bike. Okay, let's not kid ourselves, it's not that hard to ride a motorcycle once you've learnt how to do it. But if you get a series of bends right, you know that feeling when you get one bend after another, switchbacks I think they call them, and you just take the corner nicely, and you balance kind of G-force with the lean of the bike and the counter steering on the bars. It just feels fantastic. So getting those skills right, I really enjoy that aspect of it, the skillful part of it. And in a way, and I think I may have mentioned this before, I find the way that feels when you're going through those corners, it's a bit like the feeling you get when you're skiing. I know it's a completely different pastime, but for some reason I link the two. I love skiing, but it's something you can't do very often in England. It's only a sort of once or twice a year affair, if you're lucky. So motorcycling, the skill of actually riding it, I enjoy trying to perfect that, and the feeling you get when you're actually riding the bike is fantastic. It's always a buzz when you're on a bike. You don't have to be riding fast, I'm just poodling along here at 45, but I can guarantee you I'm having more fun than the guy in the Lexus in front of me. Another thing I love about motorcycling is the fact it's sort of the spirit of adventure. You don't have to be doing a round the world trip, although you can do, but just the fact, because you go out on your bike just for the fun of it, for a ride, you explore places that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise explore. I mean, look at this place here, not far from where I live. I don't really know what it's called. I think it might be called Bradnam, but a lovely little spot. And I just wouldn't come out here. I wouldn't come out, of a lunchtime for a drive in my car for the fun of it. So the fact that you can actually explore your local area and beyond on the bike, and go places you wouldn't necessarily otherwise go, and find really nice places. It's just a sort of, again, I guess it links with that sense of freedom, but the fact you can actually go on a bit of an adventure on a bike, which I think is a bit harder in a car. But certainly on my bikes I've been to all sorts of places within 5 miles of my house that I just wouldn't have otherwise have been. So I quite like that sort of spirit of discovery that you get on a bike. What a great road. Here's another thing, I've never been on this road before on the bike. It's brilliant. I should definitely be coming here again. Lovely day for a change. This summer has been rubbish in England, and these sort of days where it's been dry and warm have been very few and far between. I recognise this road now. There may be a photo opportunity up here. Check this out. Not only do I love bikes, but I love aeroplanes. Look at those beauties. Not the real McCoy, of course, but got a bit of snap here. Well, how cool is that? Gate guard in Spitfire. I suspect that is just a fiberglass replica, but nonetheless, looks like the real McCoy. Very nice. And just to complete the pair, there's a Hurricane. Again, I suspect just a fiberglass replica, but it looks flipping good. Nice. Right, I better clear off because I've got a feeling that Headquarters Air Command probably don't like me standing around here filming. Let's go away before I get shot at, or at least told off. So that was a little fun interlude. Anyway, where was I? Yes, Sync the Planet and what makes biking fun and what makes people go and ride bikes. The other thing I find about it is because, and a bit like my flying hobby, when you're actually riding your bike, you do have to concentrate on what you're doing. Now, although I'm talking to you on the camera, and it just might seem like I'm not really thinking about the biking very much, nothing could be further from the truth. I'm always looking out for hazards up ahead, and if something develops, then I would stop talking immediately. And obviously, you wouldn't get to see that on the vlog because I would edit that out and redo it. But when you're riding a bike, you have to concentrate on what you're doing, just like when you're in the plane. You have to continually monitor the instruments, make sure nothing's going wrong, and be ahead of the machine that you're in command of. And otherwise, the consequences can be disastrous. So you have to concentrate, and that in itself means you almost get into that sort of Buddhist Zen-like state of flow. And because you're concentrating on that, because your life literally depends on it, I find that relaxing. It just gets you out of the normal things that you do day to day, the world of work or whatever you spend your time doing. And in itself, concentrating on something like that, I find it relaxing because you can't afford to crowd your mind with other thoughts. So that in itself, it's relaxing. It's a relaxing pastime. I think that's what I'm saying. We must come out this way again. There's some cracking views here that I just missed, but you might get a glimpse through to the left across sort of Aylesbury Vale. We're quite high up here, and some lovely views over there. And this road, if I wasn't stuck behind the obligatory transit, is actually a very nice road. Worth coming out early one morning and giving it a try. Ooh, opportunity knocks. So the other thing I just wanted to mention about what makes motorcycling appealing to me is the other thing around community, and just the biking community generally. It's an amazing levelling thing, biking. You meet all sorts of people on bikes. Everybody who has a bike likes to talk about their bikes, and it's a great just gets people together. Now, I'm not a huge fan of riding in big groups, for example, so I don't go out myself with groups of people riding very often. In fact, I don't actually know that many people locally to me that own motorcycles. I've got a few friends, but you know, you can count them on one hand that I could potentially go out riding with, and occasionally I do, but it's quite rare because I don't really like to have to worry about where other people are, what they're doing, you know, keeping up with them or whatever. Let's go this way. So I'm not really referring to that, although I know lots of people do love going out for a ride with their mates on the bike, and that's fine. I'm thinking more of actually the community that I've learnt and got to know through this internet stuff. I mean, the number of people that comment on my videos always amazes me, and you know, there are a number of people that have been regular viewers and commenters for a number of years, and you know, I feel like they're friends. We know each other, and that is just great. And not only that, if I am out and about and I'm on a bike, invariably, if I'm on a bike like the Panigale, which is maybe not quite so run-of-the-mill, you do get people come and talk to you a lot about the bike, and I just love that aspect of it. Really good. So the sort of community aspect of biking is unlike any other I've come across. You get it a little bit in flying, but obviously you don't bump into people standing next to their aeroplane when you're outside the shop, so it's not quite so, it doesn't happen quite so often. Opportunity knocks again. Quickly past him before he turns left, or right rather. Okay, so there we have it. That's pretty much it for my contribution to Sync the Planet 2016. I hope you share some of my views as to why you ride motorbikes or like motorbikes. Be interested to hear your views in the comments below as usual. Don't forget, if you want to watch the other contributions from the Sync the Planet vloggers, of which there I hope are hundreds around the world, then you can search on Sync the Planet on YouTube. Everybody should be uploading their videos with a similar title, so it's Sync the Planet 2016 / and then the name of your channel name. So it should be easy to find, and you can do a sort of comparison of people's vlogs, and that's what I'll be doing a bit later on. Okay, look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.